Every innovation depends on the user experience. Customer experience is essential in business, but there is a deeper psychological effect that we should be aware of. This is the main topic of our next panel, Managing Customer Experience with Ever-Changing Industry Trends. The moderator is Dr. Nikolaos Dimitriadis, Program Lead and Master of Science in Neuromarketing from City College, University of York. The speakers are Etienne Dupont, Goran Ćurćin, Mirza Hadžić, Jovana Kandić, and Filip Novak. The stage is yours.
Yeah, that works. So, looking at the program and the time we have, I think we can all say our names and then continue with the next session, right? So bear with us. We'll try to be as fast and as efficient as possible, okay? So thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. We need to be a little bit faster maybe and a little bit mindful of time than we thought, but we will make it. Okay, so bear with me. I have three questions for I prepared 3 questions for our panelists. We'll see how much time we have to cover them all. And if you have any question, please, towards the end, we will try to have some time. You can ask your own question too. So let's start immediately. And you know, we had trying to be very transparent, because I think one of the things that digital revolution brought is the need for transparency. Do you agree? Can we hide things nowadays? Should we hide things nowadays? Transparency is a huge, huge issue for companies. So trying to be transparent with you, I will say the following. We had an online meeting, right, to prepare. And it was so fantastic that I wonder now if we can, and we will try to recapture the magic of our preparatory meeting. Okay, so this is my promise to outdo our preparatory meeting, okay? So question number 1. Here we are. The world is changing again. Do you remember any time when the world was not changing? In your lifetime. I started university in 1992. The topic of all my professors was the world is changing. I became a professor in 1998. My topic is the world is changing. We come now in conferences in 2022. The topic is the world is changing. And indeed, it's changing, and it's creating a lot of uncertainty in people's lives, both as customers and employees. And companies are trying to manage and respond to this uncertainty by trying to refocus and to use technology. I think this has been a major theme of the event. Within this effort of companies, it seems to me that customer centricity and trying to follow trends is a major effort of companies. So my first question is, how do you perceive customer centricity? How would you define it? And do you think that companies, and especially leaders, are ready for genuine empathy and ready to commit to really address pains and desires of people? What do you think? Let's start with Jovana.
This works now? Yeah, okay. First of all, thank you for the introduction, and thanks everyone for being here. I don't think that the role of customer centricity is that much different than before pandemic or since ever, but its importance is amplified like multiple times now. Being customer-centric for me, generally, it means that you want to get to know your customer, to really understand their needs in order to anticipate those needs and create some meaningful customer experience for them in order to have a long-lasting relationship with the customer. And obviously, every business wants to have that kind of relationship with their customers. So I think that pandemic definitely brought this to a whole nother level. And that now every company is looking for that competitive edge, and they're turning to customer centricity in order to adjust to the changes that the pandemic brought. If we're talking about our company is really ready to be super empathetic and really focus on the customers, I don't want to be pessimistic about this really, but I think that we're not there yet regionally or globally either. I think that a lot of companies are struggling, but the pandemic really pushed us to focus more on the customer. And being customer-centric for companies means that it's a company-wide commitment. You can't really have just one department of the company, just one part of the company being focused on the customer. You really need to have, like, it starts from leadership, it starts from the management, but it needs to go through every part of the organization. So I don't think that most companies nowadays think they are customer-centric, think that they're focused on the customer because they have maybe, I don't know, customer service team, customer support team that is actually focused on the customer, but every other team is not. So I'm speaking from the software development point of view, but you need to have like a product team that develops real features for customers that will actually solve their problems, and you need to.
So it's end of the time of the panel. That's it. That's a sign.
Maybe. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think I'm muted. I'm sorry. You need to have like your marketing team and your sales team to actually show customers how those features that you created, those products you created, that will actually help them and respond to their needs. So I think that a lot of companies now face a lot of challenges in this regard. Whether it's like applying technology to achieve this, which I imagine we'll discuss later more, but also internally in terms of company culture and organizational restructuring and just adjusting the internal organization for being more customer centric. So I think that the question here, if companies want to be more customer centric, the question is for us as business leaders and everything, how ready we are to actually support our customers in these uncertain times, and how can we actually help them when they're stressed and burned out and even scared, referring to COVID. We really need to ask ourselves, how can we support them in some kind of human and meaningful way? And I don't think that a lot of companies actually do that. They are still very product-oriented and focused on the product. So COVID is not the first crisis we had, and it's not going to be the last, unfortunately. So this is why we need to really speed this up. After all, when a crisis hits, I think that every customer on its own, but also businesses look for ways to cut their costs. So if your company is not really focused on the customer, I imagine that those companies will be the first one to get cut in the process.
Giovanna gave such a complete answer that I think she covered. Fantastic, Giovanna. But Philip, what is your experience and maybe a view of the commitment of companies on empathy and care?
So thank you for having me, and it's a real pleasure. And I would completely agree with what Giovanna said. But I think transparency is required, because the foundation of any relationship between people or in a team organizationally is trust. And you cannot build trust without empathy and without showing your true colors. Research says that 84% of people in B2B even higher, 89%, judge companies on the experiences, on the experience they provide them with, as much as they judge them based on the product and service they sell them. But only 36% of companies actually see and can identify their customers as unique customers, right? So there's greenfield in this domain. And I know CEOs and business leaders, we have, especially in the tech world, we love buzzwords: digital transformation, omni-channel. So maybe let's make it simple. Digital transformation is nothing else than putting the customer at the center of the business and building the teams, multidisciplinary teams and processes around the customer. But that's easier said than done, right? So if we look at, and it's always like our tech vendors saying this mantra, right? Which, especially here, we're very allergic to it, especially like the Americanized kind of selling. So let's look at the best and biggest brands in the world. Adidas is not a sports apparel manufacturer anymore. They're a premium lifestyle experience provider. If you put the word lifestyle anywhere, this means personalization. In order to personalize, you need to know the customer. Kone was selling elevators and escalators. Now they're moving happy people. So there's and change is difficult, right? And it starts here, especially for a CEO, right? And then you move on and you build it out in terms of the organization. So, and it's a foundation for future-proofing the business, right? Starting with leadership, going strategy, and then actually asking yourself, not looking at what's the best tech out there that can make me customer-centric. It's asking yourself, what are the experiences that we want to provide to our customers? And then going, okay, what tech enables us to do that? It's a long road, but if you do that, if you build that foundation, any changes in the market, any trends, you'll be ready.
Thank you so much. So, Etienne, from all the interesting things that Philip mentioned, I want to take the last point he made, which is this radical outside-in view of business. Do you see this happening in the world? And apart from the conceptual understanding that we need to be outside-in, do you see it happening? Do you see steps being taken for companies to be organized and led in that way?
Yeah, I mean, customer centricity is not something new. I mean, Amazon, like in day one, put customer obsession as number one of their leadership principle and put customer satisfaction in any piece of their enterprise to make sure they can deliver the best experience they can. What changed with COVID is that, and also there is, from my personal opinion, there is also a more global and deep change in the way of social interactions with social media, with personal branding, with every piece of your internet platform is customized to your own need, to your own history or whatever. Is pushing brands to address these customer-centric questions in a much more deep way, from service perspective, but also from a communication perspective. And what actually COVID helped in this area is first to push brands to do it, because a lot of shops were closed. They have to get in touch with their clients with one way or another. But it also gives the highlight on many tools that are today live from different, I mean, there are thousands of MarTech, AdTech, whatever tech platform in the world that can help e-commerce brands to manage their needs. But it gives them a bit the spotlight and give more time to the enterprise to look at what do I need to manage my needs, and how can I leverage all of this to make it work. It also helps the industry itself to get closer together, to try to provide more integrated solutions. Back in the days, you know, every piece of company were offering their services, but they were not really integrated. And it's true, like we have to recognize that for a brand, it was difficult, you know, to address all the needs from what do I need, how I am integrating them, how it's going to work. Now I think it's getting there. I think there's still a room of improvement, but it's coming. And I think it's now also on the brand side to adapt all this change the way they're organized. I mean, there are pieces like from marketing side, it's easier because there are, let's say, the knowledge of all these platforms. But when it comes to more customer relationships, support, it takes more time. And us as a communication channels, service providers, we have to make a huge education effort to make sure that they understand how they can leverage it, what the benefit they can get for them, but most likely for their consumers. Because if they just do it for them, and they do not provide the value to the consumers, I mean, it's pointless.
Right. So thank you so much. And you said many times the word need. So, Mirza, do you think that companies can really become empathetic? They can really not only understand, but connect in this deep need level with the customers and the employees?
Yeah, so you said very well in your previous question, you know, this holistic approach, outside in, you know. So what we see today, you know, it's a major shift in technology, but things with customers are going back to roots, you know. When you have your, you know, hairdresser, your butcher, when you enter their shops and stores, they already know you for decades. They know you what you need. So this is like high expectation today from customers, that brands understand them personally. You know, for customers today, great customer experience is not only like sales or delivery. It's like marketing, it's you know, product usage, it's support, it's everything around this. So all interactions between brands and customers. So if you are looking like total survey, a company, you know, 86% of customers say that, you know, they are ready to pay more for greater customer experience. So this going back to roots, you know, a major change in all these, you know, segments of the company is understanding transparently full customer journey and changing the culture, you know. Everyone needs to be in the shoes of their clients, you know, to understand what they need and to provide them. It's not anymore about product. It's on entire experience. And we are all like, you know, witnessing today on great applications, fintechs and everything else. But behind great applications, if they are not delivering proper support to you, you know, if you are like, in some point of time, you know, giving someone your money, you know, and relying on them to keep them, and if you are not able to access this because of the, you know, bad support, then, you know, technology is not doing, you know, a lot.
So customers vote with their money, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Goran, first of all, you are much taller than in Zoom, right? Which is another evidence where you have to meet people in person, not only in Zoom, to see really what they look like. So now you're the last one on this first question, so you can comment in anything that you have heard. What do you think? Are we ready for extreme customer centricity?
So it's tough to be the last one on the first question. There's so many good topics, but you know, I think it is a struggle. It's really a huge pressure on the company's organization actually to adapt to the evolving customer need. This is what we heard from the previous panelists. It's not that there is a single need. That need is evolving, and I think what happened with pandemic, you know, it caused lots of different problems and lots of different opportunities for the companies. Exactly. So you figure it out. I'm tall, and that's when, you know, we don't need data to figure it out that we need a good customer experience. So I have really bad customer experience when it comes to buying jeans, for example. You know, and you know, the moment that you need to sense and adapt, you know, to kind of feel your market, feel what your customers actually expect, and what how their, you know, how their expectation actually evolved, and then responding to that. So kind of sense and respond is, I think it's really important if you really like to personalize customer experiences. So one of the good things that happened with COVID, you know, because it's, as I said, this is something that's not a new topic, but what the COVID brought, actually, it kind of speed up things, you know. And it speed up in the sense that accelerated all the involvement into, it's accelerated of a decade, I would say, which kind of speed up innovation and technology, because it actually allocated the money for that. You know, if you look at the reports from the industry analyst from IDC, you know, made in October 2019, the money being reserved, you know, forecasted to be used for the digital transformation, which was mentioned as a buzzword, in 2019, by the 2023, it was 2.3 trillion. But then 8 months into the pandemic, you know, somewhere in December, that number tripled, you know, to $6.9 trillion. So, which is kind of great, you know, because companies now, maybe the, you know, companies which are tech implementers talked about, yeah, well, you need to digitally transform, and this is why you need that. But now you're kind of forced, and the companies are actually taking parts of the budget to actually do that. And parts of each and every digital transformation project, you know, it starts with the customer, it ends with the customer. So are we ready, and are businesses and leaders really thinking about that? You know, that's you know, if you ask them, I think every CEO will say yes. But what's the level of maturity? You know, my friend just another day, we talked about the customer experience in a panel. He said, you know, this is great, you know, and we are talking lots about that. But, you know, most of companies are on those kind of really elementary first steps of the journey, because, you know, I enter my age, I enter my gender, on a big fashion consumer brand. And you know what? The first email I received the day later is for the woman underwear, and I'm a male. And you would think in 2022, you know, at least use a gender. And we are talking also, you know, there's so many advanced things you can do with the technology, and we are going to talk that later. But, you know, it seems like that customer has really bad experience with the company. So they're colliding forces in the market. You know, they're colliding forces that you need somehow to put together if you would like to take the market share. Because on one side you have a customer, we shouldn't forget about employees and their experiences, and citizens if you want to create those kind of long-term values. And you know, there are definitely friction points you should be aware of that you need to remove to create those personal experiences. Then there's technologies and data to make and automate and orchestrate across all the channels which we talk about. So, and how do you constantly evolve? And you know, we as an EY and other implementers are the one actually that can help companies do the transformation of customer experiences. And that's innovation in each and every level, in organization, and trying to find gaps or revenues that you don't see because maybe you're investing lots of money in things don't matter. You know, you just don't know that. You're just investing in things, in marketing campaigns and ad, but you know what? There is no return on investment on that one, and you're not aware of that. So I think those are the things we are going to probably talk in next points.
Fantastic. Now, flash question. I didn't inform you about this, but I think it will make it more fresh. Just, if you can, one word answer. You all mentioned in a way or another that we are not there yet, we are getting there, it's not easy, maybe we say it, but we don't do it. What is the number one barrier for you for reaching extreme customer centricity? One barrier each. Flash question. Who wants to start? Let's start from Goran. You were the last one, not the first. What is yours, for you, what you see in the market, the top barrier for reaching this satisfying level of customer centricity?
So,
one word.
It's tough to have one word.
If you had to choose one. I saw Jovana reacted. Jovana, you can start first and I will finish with you.
So one word
yes.
for us, scalability. So because in software industry there was a rapid growth. So in order to scale and get there and be customer centric, it's a real challenge.
So you mean scalability is against customer centricity or for?
No.
For.
It's for, but it's a challenge that we need to overcome to get there.
I
so
like the word
barrier.
challenge in businesses. It can mean many things. Philip, and we'll finish with you, Goran.
I actually missed the word in my vocabulary, but let's say the antonym of curiosity.
The which one?
Antonym of curiosity.
The curiosity, fantastic. Yes, okay. Get it. Tien?
I would say education. Education on the fact that brands have to think how they can improve and how I can do it.
Fantastic. In neuroscience, we call it cognitive rigidity, which is a nice kind of an antonym to curiosity. More scientific, though.
I would say satisfaction. Satisfaction, you know, from, coming from, firstly from employees, which is reflected then on customers, you know. And it's connected with, you know, all of this, you know, curiosity and you know, scalability and education and everything. You know.
So we need to make employees more satisfied in order for them to make customers more satisfied. That's what you mean. Excellent. Yes. Goran?
So the word which kind of stops us, you know, the barrier is inertia, I would say, you know, and to overcome that means be more agile. Perfect. You know, so yeah.
Okay, cool. Fast to question number 2. The previous one was 1.1. So the role of technology. We talked about people, about changing lives, about unpredictability, about pandemic, about satisfaction, education, mindset. Let's now go into technology. So to me, it looks like the technology is both a driver. We've heard in the opening keynote also, things happen because of technology. Industrial revolution happened because of technology. We are now in the 4th or 5th, or I have lost count which industrial revolution we are going, or 5.2 or 5.1, we don't know, but constantly there is a revolution. Technology plays a very important role. Now, you represent very exciting companies with experience in the market, in the forefront of innovation. Can you tell us some technology can enable practically customer centricity and following market trends? And let's start with Mirza this time.
Thank you. So if you are looking a few years ago, you know, like in e-commerce, you know, customer types, we had like digital native companies which are born and raised and developed only on digital technologies. And then you have these traditional retails, you know, which like were working in, you know, physical stores and everything. So technology went from these expensive mainframes to the cloud today, which enabled everyone access to technology. And what we saw in the pandemic, you know, we saw that, you know, some of these traditional businesses transform very fast towards the e-commerce, you know, traditional retails going towards the digital native. So we have, you know, very close, you know, customer type now between traditional businesses and new business. We could hear this yesterday on this panel of fintechs and traditional banks, that this is also coming very close. So technology is definitely an enabler, but what we saw also in pandemic, it can be also complexity for the companies who didn't change their mindset, you know, and who didn't follow the customer journey, how they can, you know, deliver the you know, their service to the customers. So it can be obstacle, but definitely is enabler. And per McKinsey research, you know, in pandemic situation, digital transformation happened, you know, speeded up, accelerated for like 3 years in this area. So we saw a lot of, you know, companies in like retail e-commerce part, which they didn't want to transform. They waited pandemic to stop. And they you know, some of these businesses were closed, or were hit very hard, you know, in terms of the costs. But some of these businesses created new companies. Like if you are looking today, CCC, you know, their core business is like physical stores. And during the pandemic, they were getting the huge hit because their stores were closed in, you know, several times for a few months because, you know, of the lockdowns. But what they did, they have, you know, in the same group, like eBuvi company, which is doing digital, and which they organize their stocks in the, you know, delivery centers of these delivery companies. So you can order online their stuff, you know, which is like tomorrow at your address, and you can change very quickly if something is not fitting you. You can change immediately, you know, and very fast, and it's very good, you know, user experience.
So great example. So if you don't change, you can experience a Darwinian death, right? Yes. Because of less adaptation. So Goran, any examples, any case studies or something that comes, any story into mind about successful implementation of technology?
Well, the technology, as you said, is something that's really shaping our lives and work, you know, these days. So, but some things we noticed with the companies, essentially, when the pandemic hit, you know, having lots of customers from different industries, you know, some industries actually just stopped investing. Others actually shifted their minds into investing in certain tracks that we were behind. You know, one of the examples we had on some order management system implementations, for example, is, you know, those are a huge project and could last for years. You know, the whole process from order management to the supply chain, for example. And, you know, when you figure it out in pandemic that, you know, for example, curbside pickup was quite a big deal, you know, in States, for example, where this customer was. You kind of pull things from the backlog and you prioritize that. It's the first thing you would deliver, and then you use a month or two to deliver the curbside pickup, because, you know what, now picking up your goods from not just, you know, home address or, you know, from stores or from lockers or additional locations becomes important. You know, and those things what happened in Serbia as well. You know, before the COVID, there was no additional locations you can pick your goods beside the stores and the home location. But then in COVID, all of a sudden, we had like a gas pump there with the lockers. You know, if you travel, and, you know, we were all travel to States and ordering things from Amazon. Amazon lockers were quite convenient location to deliver the goods. You know what? Because I'm at the work or I'm in hotel, yep. I'm not at the home office. So those things kind of exploded. So, but it's really important to transform, and that's easier said than done. But, you know, to be able to transform, you just need to manipulate with the data. You need to be able to sense and respond. As I said, you need to have data, and the data is one coming from your users to kind of figure it out, their, you know, 360 user profile of your users. But the other side, it's about data, how your systems are actually working, if they're good or not, to find bottlenecks, for example. Your IT teams needs to be organized in a way to apply that technology and to be able to shift if needed. And, you know, you cannot be slow So that's why I said inertia.
Yeah.
You know, if you're slow and you need lots of time to make a decision, that's just not going to work. You know, the market will eat you. And then again, the technology doesn't work without the people. And that's one of the key takeaways from pandemic, and something which is a struggle today, you know, finding the experts to actually use the technology in a good place. So you can spend, you know, huge amount of money, but if you don't have the strong team and you don't know what your strengths are, and if you don't have a team either in-house or through partners, you're not going to use your technology to the full potential. Right. So the technologies can give you a lot, but you need to know how to use them. So I think, you know, that's kind of a simple answer, but, you know, there's so many case studies where we can kind of use technology to shift things, and the core is if you have digitally transformed organization, right, you're not sitting on some really old stack, you can do certain things. You know, you can either do a betas or, you know, some MVPs on the technologies. It's easier to scale, as we said before, but if you're sitting on old stack, that's just not going to.
Right, so it's not only about the technology, but how you use it also, exactly, right? Okay, exactly. Cool. Philip, share some stories with us.
So maybe one of not a bad, but a lack of technology, right? You're the furniture of a brand, and you come to the front desk, and you say, you know, I ordered something online, you know, but it's late. And the lady says, oh, that's a totally different department, that's e-commerce, I don't know. So, you know, they lack a system, you know, shameless plug. But let's take the example of Apple. Well, we love Apple because they are the best at it, right? So maybe a question for the audience. What is the, if we're talking operationally or logistically, right, that impacts directly customer experience, right? What's the difference from Apple retail and any other brick and mortar retail? Any ideas?
This is a test.
Yeah, so basically, when you enter an Apple store, if you ever been to an Apple store, what's the biggest difference that you see than other, like, retailers, brick and mortar?
They had to drink too much last night.
It's the point of sales.
Absolutely.
Why? Why is this important? Because nowadays, customers, we have the best advisor in our pocket, which is mobile phone. We're so informed. You come into a store, you Google reviews, you immediately get the feedback you need, whether I'm going to buy this product. Why is this so? And by the way, digital is not equal to customer centricity, but you cannot be customer centric without digital. But let's not forget about retail, because if we're talking about the experiences, that's where the magic happens. If you go to a Michelin star restaurant, it's not the food, it's the experience, right? So what Apple does, right? Its first use case is know your customer, right? So somebody comes to your store, right? Oh, I know your purchase history and your affinities, right? Second is become my customer. It's connecting offline and online. Right? So, and you can incentivize this. Oh, would you care to register? And if you do, you immediately get 10% off, right? So you incentivize collecting data, which then you can use immediately for marketing automation later on in a customer journey 2 weeks later, because you have connected, integrated e-commerce, right? Or point of sales, right? You get an email, hey, how do you like your new iPhone, right? Wow, that's the wow effect. And third is empowering employees. Right? Because he, on his handheld device, has all the product information. He can check something fast if it's in the inventory. So your employees are empowered. Right. And at the end of the day, that's why when you go to an Apple store, you see why there's so many people.
Jovana, your story, your example of a good case of applying technology?
Yeah, for the good case, I think that the whole fitness industry really adapted well for this. They quickly switched to online trainings and streaming, and even added like gamification to their apps, like some motivational features.
Obviously, they missed me, but maybe.
Yeah, I could use it too. So. And even like you have like smart gym equipment where you can get real data. Technology enables you to get real data and improve your workout. So I think that fitness industry quite well adapted to the changes that that were introduced like lately. But in other sense, for retail, and that's an obvious example, e-commerce for retail and brick and mortar stores, it is. I think nowadays it's not an option anymore to have an online presence. It's a must. Like, you need to have that online presence. You cannot go without it anymore. And technology enables those kind of stores to actually get greater customer experience with seamless buying experience. You can have mobile apps to help that, curbside pickup, which was already mentioned, and you can have contactless payment and delivery and stuff like that. For a software business, it's kind of a bit different kind of challenge. It's obviously remote work. The pandemic brought us this whole new world of remote work, and a lot of businesses switched to working from home, and technology really enabled and sustained this whole model, working from home with video conferencing and chat applications and whatnot. Our apps, Clockify, which is like, I don't know, probably the best time tracker in the world, does exactly that, helps remote workers track their productivity and efficiency in this type of work, remote working. So I think that technology definitely gives us data and analytics, crucial, some insights into customers, brings us closer to the customer, but it's on us to use that data and actually be customer-centric and use the technology. So yeah, technology is just an enabler for this.
So if it is used well, it can really give us an edge.
Yeah.
Excellent. Etienne, your story of the happy story of usage of technology in these times?
Yeah. In a way, I mean, working at Viber, we have the chance, to see some good success stories, and we are at the end of the long funnel where we are hosting, obviously, user conversations, but also brand and user conversations, and we can see, obviously, some great success stories. That is not enabling just with the tools that we're providing to the brands, but also because they have integrated different bricks that make it work, So they have integrated CRM platforms to collect the data, plug it to, for instance, a CPaaS platform, and then selecting the right communication channel where I'm going to have my conversations. And having said that, like to give proper example, could be, for instance, in Bulgaria, there is services called Urban City Services. So it's a public services. So they have developed and published a bot on Viber. And as a users, you can directly pay your public parking place when you find one. You can also get extra information about traffic source, blah, blah, blah. And why it's a success? Because they have enabled a service without developing an external app that they have to market to push users to download. They are reaching a place where the user is already familiar with. They have integrated payment solutions to facilitate the user experience, and this make work. And now they put in Sofia. They're expanding in different cities now. Another example, for instance, from Serbia, so D-Express, so courier services. So they're using Viber to send their delivery message to tell users when they will receive a new shipment. And why? Just because it's not because they're sending it on Viber that is good. It's because two things is first. You are receiving the message, you can reply to the message directly in the same channel. I mean, on SMS, for instance, I think I never replied to any brand SMS in my life, particularly for shipment or whatever. You don't even have the option to do it, actually. So this is a just easy customer satisfaction that you can reply, you can change your address, you can change the hour of the delivery. I mean, it's simple stuff, actually, but this makes a huge difference. It's removing a lot of constraints, a lot of pain points. Then I need to find maybe a calling number to change my shipment or whatever. So I mean, there are small stuff that can be done easily and that can make feel different, the experience. and that can, and with the current technology, it's happening. So it's a matter for the brand now to leverage all these options to make it work.
So customer experience, I think we agree, is the magic of the small things, right? As you said, that compile an amazing feeling of trust and support and connectivity with the company. Last question, we are out of time. For this last question, I want to do something. We will answer it standing, just to be more fresh, please. You can stand as well. Please, let's stand. One thing we know about the brain, when the brain sits down, feels very comfortable, and it's half sleeping. So standing, last question, and you can start at the end, and then you can bring the microphone back. So let's bring out, we will bring out for the moment, our magic ball to see the future. So what do you see for the future, Etienne? In future of digital commerce, customer centricity, empathy, and technology. Few words.
Yeah, I mean, one of the interesting trends, I think it's not a trend, it's a fact, actually. I mean, on the mobile area, we now, I mean, on iOS or Android, every month there are more and more apps. Everybody wants to have the app on the stores, but if you look at the stats, users are spending 77% of the time on three apps. Most likely social media, sometimes games, depending on the profile. Which means that you as a brand, you are fighting against each other for less than a quarter of the time to catch the attention of the users. And develop a mobile app, I mean, it's a lot of resource. I mean, development, marketing, maintenance, etc. It's a whole business, actually. I mean, we are a mobile app, so we know what we talk here. It's a huge business. So better to, before investing a lot of money on stuff, I mean, think about what I want to achieve, where I should achieve it, or where I can, or how I can do it, and try to find a ways to make it work, to know where the audience are, and find and take the tools to make it work. I think this is strategic.
So out of complexity, simplicity, and solutions. Giovanna.
I think this question of future can be posed in a different way. Are we going back to the way we worked before and done business before, or are we creating and adapting to the new way of working? I think that the answer is pretty clear, that we're not going back ever, and moving forward, and technology will enable us to get there. I think that somebody mentioned that customer expectations will rise. I think that this is definitely the trend that we'll be seeing more, and that the companies will be held accountable for the new standard that they created in regards to customer experience, and this is going to be the challenge in the future. I think that many people will, when deciding to buy a product or subscribe to a service, software, whatever, that they will be questioning, do I really need this? Do I really need this? And then the focus will be on the value that the product provides. So I think that the bottom line is that technology will enable us to move forward. Yeah.
So the end of the BS era. Hey, by the way, if you want to move a little bit on your side, you can. If you get tired on one, you too as well. Philip?
So if I knew the future, I would become an entrepreneur and start a business. I think the first and foremost, before we start running, we should know how to crawl. So let's go to the basics, build a foundation, and we'll be ready for the future. But what the CEO of Bank of America said, we are actually an IT company wrapped in a bank. Wow. So I think a lot of the traditional companies will do actually that. Technology is definitely an enabler, but I think really, let's not talk, technology at the end of the day is a tool. You can buy the best tool in the market, but if you don't know how to use it, it doesn't mean anything, right? So I think build a foundation and you're future-proof.
Fantastic. Mirza? At the end, as soon as we finish, great idea. Wait. Come here to start it, though. It was your idea. Come here in the corner. You will start it. Bravo. But as soon as we finish, great idea. Mirza, please.
So it's very, when we are speaking about future, it's very hard predicting how future is going to look like. But if from customer experience perspective, we are always looking, one step ahead,
Right.
And if we are looking by the end of this decade, by 2030, how things would look like, so we can focus on no more than, you know, alpha generation today, because alpha generation is, they were born with first iPad, you know. This is generation from 2010. Today they are like from 1 to 12 years old. They are already impacting their parents in decisioning on buying.
I know.
and you know, by 2030, they are going to do their purchase with their own money and to communicate with the brand. And prediction is that, you know, this population, alpha population, by 2030 will be 2 billion, you know, globally. So from that perspective, you know, they are born with you know, with access to information and to entertainment with one touch away. So this is the generation which is expecting simplicity and easy of use of the technology. They don't know what we know, like other generations. From the other side, business models from expensive mainframes, cloud, are evolving today even to the direction where technology will cost zero to the brands, but they are going to pay per their performance what they are doing, you know. So therefore it's really important, you know, that companies are using their data in a right way. Yesterday we heard like cart abandonment on fintech session. So this is like, we had discussion like Alma from Labris and myself, you know, this is the point where, you know, any marketing automation tool is giving you technology perspective to mitigate this. But thing is that, you know, companies need to understand what to do with this data, to understand, you know, they are investing a lot of money to bring customers, and then they're stuck on the last point, you know. If, you know, so using data in a proper way, engaging properly, you know, customers and customer journey is
so everything
really
generates data now. What do we do with it? So, Goran, I told you about, you know,
I think that's the reason why we stand up, I guess.
Are you here? He's here already, okay?
Yeah. So, one thing, 20 years ago on a college, you know, in one of the exams, they asked, like, you know, think about the future and how it should look like. And I was thinking about education back then and how, you know, bear in mind that's like 56K kind of internet connections, and there was no laptops, and obviously you go to internet cafe to download stuff for 50 minutes because it's expensive. So back then I thought like using the internet for distance learning. You know, the distance learning back then was in beginnings in terms of like it's used in Australia because there's so many people in the bushes, you know, and they were emitting the channel on national TV actually some sessions, and that's how they were learning. But, you know, it took us like 20 years just, you know, to use it for education because we were forced into that. And then, you know, we repurposed the technologies we had for the meetings and start learning. So it's ungrateful to think of that far in the future, obviously. But one of the things I thought back then was like virtual reality. And so there are things you know, Philip mentioned, we first need to crawl. We just need to use technology we have. We do have data. You know, the continual investment in usage of the platforms, which are like customer data platform, to kind of bring all the information that we do have as companies or our customers, our clients actually try to centralize them to actually know your customer, because if you don't know your customer, you cannot really personalize. So use the customer data platform to connect, to integrate, and to create you know, persistent, to store persistent information that you can use for other tools, because that's the only way you can have the really personalized experiences across all the channel. You know, I go and shop online, try to figure it out, you know, which TV I should buy. I do my comparison online. I put maybe something in a cart and I forget about that because I got distracted. But then one day maybe I'm going to step by in a shopping mall, I'm going to get push notification because, you know what, I had a TV as an abandoned cart and someone figured out I'm close by a store where that TV is, I'm going to get a discount. And when we come to that point, that's a really personal experience because actually someone used that. You know, one of the things which could be really interesting is the metaverse. And we are going to see that the metaverse is going to be really, really cool for all retailers, you know, and we are definitely going to have to adopt. But I think that's a bit way more far future. There's so many things we can use on the ground now with the technology we have, and that's, I think, that the first 5 to 10 years that we have to use to.
Goran, thank you so much. I think with metaverse we covered all buzzwords, or more or less, right? So before we do the wave and our starting of the we need the camera up here for the wave, by the way, because it's one in a lifetime opportunity. So the future is unpredictable. It's difficult, challenging, and chaotic. This is what I understood. However, if we prepare our company and our team with the right mindset, the right feeling and emotion, motivation, but also the right tools, the future can also be a happy place. So, No. And because it will be, this conference will make it a happy place, we will do the wave. Please join down here, the panelists in the front to start the wave. So the wave will be started by our friend, Rade. So Rade had a great idea. Ready? Hey, we have to sit down. Either we will do the proper... So, we start. Ready? Hey, come on, you haven't... you have seen it. Come on, you've been. Ready, Rade, you're Rade. Hey. Okay, great. Thank you.